What's up, everyone? My name is Ethan. This is Courtside TV. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, and let's get into it. So, today we're continuing with our sort of playoff preview type series. Today we're going to be talking about the Lakers and the Suns, kind of just breaking down the matchup, you know, how I think the series is going to go and things to look out for on each side. And I want to do this for some of the series that I think will be the closest in the first round. So, you know, before the first round starts, I won't have time to get through every series, but I want to do this one specifically for today, and then I think the next couple of days I wanted to do Knicks and Hawks, as well as Blazers and Nuggets. I think are going to be the other two first round series that are going to be really tight and that I really want to talk about. So we're going to do that for the next couple of days. But yeah, today let's get into the Lakers and the Suns. So this is a matchup that is obviously unfortunate for Phoenix. They wait, 11 years to make the playoffs again, and their reward is to play against LeBron in the first round. It's just very unfortunate to be the second seed, and then obviously the Lakers have dealt with injury and lots of stuff not going their way this year, but we know that at their peak, they're a championship level team. It's clearly a very, very talented roster, and at the beginning of the season was the favorite to win the title. So the Lakers are not an ideal first round matchup for this Suns team. However, I do not think all is lost, because a lot of people are going to pick the Lakers in this series, and that might be the smart thing to do depending on how you look at it. But I genuinely do think that the Suns are not only capable of beating this Lakers team, but probably should, to be honest with you. And that feels like a hot take, and I'll kind of get into why. But you guys know, if you've been watching this channel all season, that I am a big fan of the Suns. Not like a fan, like as I'm supporting the team, but I think they're really, really good. I think they play the right way. They're deep. They have a lot of top-end star talent, as we know, and they have a lot of guys who know how to play the game of basketball. They're a very smart team. They're well coached. And I just think this team has been kind of underrated all year. I know a lot of people are kind of like saying, oh yeah, the Suns might lose in the first round, you know, whether it was the Lakers or the Warriors that end up playing them. Like, you know, that seemed to be the matchup that a lot of people wanted to see. Like a lot of teams wanted to get the matchup against the Suns just because they felt like it was easier. Like the Suns, oh, they're not as tough as a team like the Jazz or the Clippers or the Lakers. And I completely disagree. I think they're absolutely on the level of every other contender in the Western Conference. They're really, really good. And so this Lakers-Suns series is going to be absolutely a slugfest for sure. I think that it will go at least 6 games. I'm going to pick it to go 7. That's a little bit of a spoiler alert for later, but I think it's going to go 7 games. This Suns team is tough-minded. They're well-coached. They play the right way. And yes, the Lakers are also very good as well, but do not underestimate the Suns. I promise you, do not underestimate them. Just to give you some perspective on the Suns season, I just looked at this. On their resume this year, they either swept a season series or split a season series against every single team that is currently in the playoffs except for the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets were the only team this year that is in the playoffs right now that beat them twice. Everybody, like they've beaten the Lakers, they've beaten the Clippers, the Jazz, you can go down the list. Like all these teams in the Western Conference over in the East, they've beat the Bucks this year, they beat the Sixers, everybody. Like the Suns have beaten every good team in the league this year except for Brooklyn. So if that's the finals matchup, who knows, right? But other than that, Phoenix is clearly capable of beating everybody in the entire league. And even those games against the Nets were close. So it's not like they're getting blown out by anybody here. This is a good team. They have the resume. Just don't underestimate this team. As far as the specific matchup goes, I'll start on the Suns side of things. They need to figure out a way to guard Anthony Davis, because that is going to be the biggest thing, and that's kind of been a thing for them all year, where, a lot of people have pegged DeAndre Ayton as the X factor for them in the playoffs, and I agree with that, right? We know how good Chris Paul is. We know how good Devin Booker is at this point. They have a lot of good role players. Jay Crowder has been there before. Mikal Bridges has had an awesome season, even though he's still a young guy. But DeAndre Ayton is one who is in the young part of his career, and the first couple of seasons he was okay but not amazing. This year he's actually played really well, but is he going to be able to hold up in the playoffs, specifically defensively, against some of the best bigs in the league? Because if you look at their playoff path, they're going to have to face obviously Anthony Davis right away. Down the line you might have to go against obviously like Nikola Jokic, Rudy Gobert, like a lot of these really good centers in the Western Conference. So will DeAndre Ayton be able to hold up against these guys in a potential matchup? And specifically Anthony Davis here, you assume that the Lakers are going to run a lot of AD at center. We saw that, in the play-in game that they played against Golden State, where, the Warriors ran super small and kind of ran Andre Drummond off the floor, and Montrezl Harrell played a little bit. I don't believe Marc Gasol touched the floor. If he did, it was not for very long. So they ran with a lot of Anthony Davis at center, specifically to close the game out, right? And they did that last year in the playoffs, going down the stretch. That's clearly their best lineup. And so if they get into trouble in this series, we're going to see a lot of Anthony Davis at center. And the question is, will DeAndre Ayton be able to limit him? And if he can, that does a lot better. The Suns are going to have a lot better chance of winning the game because they have guys to throw at LeBron, right? We have Jay Crowder, who kind of matched up against him last year in the finals, and is one of those like big, strong wings that we know is capable. Obviously, you're not going to stop LeBron. He's obviously one of the best players in the league, but you can at least slow him down and limit him and kind of try to make things hard for him. So Jay Crowder's a guy that's capable of doing that. Mikal Bridges has the length, and he, probably will be on all defense this year. One of the best defensive wings in the league. So Mikal Bridges, even though he's young and relatively inexperienced, I think he can do a good job. So you're asking, DeAndre Ayton to be able to guard Anthony Davis, and if it's not him, then you're like Dario Saric and Frank Kaminsky, which obviously is not ideal defensively. So that's I think gonna be the key to this series, is how much can Phoenix slow down AD, because there is sort of a mismatch position wise on the way they're gonna guard him here. And then for the Lakers, it's all about just remaining healthy, continuing to do what they do, but also kind of, putting this team together on the fly. They haven't played a lot together this year, and by they, I mean like, fully healthy Lakers roster with some of the new additions over the offseason. Obviously, you put Drummond in around the trade deadline, and he has not played much with LeBron and Anthony Davis because both of them have been hurt since Drummond has been on the team. Obviously they just came back and are trying to get this together. Dennis Schroeder is a big part of this team, and he is new to the team this year, of course. Same with Montrezl Harrell. So they have a couple of new pieces here that have not necessarily played a lot with LeBron and AD. Not that it's like, super difficult to play with those guys because they're superstars and they make life easy on you. So as long as you know how to fill your role, they should be okay. But really figuring out the direction of this team and like how they're actually going to play together and maximize their chemistry, just because they haven't played a ton together all year. Obviously remaining healthy is key, letting LeBron have those times to rest, and not having to play him for 43 minutes every single game. We saw him kind of, limit his minutes in the play-in game against the Warriors. He was kind of taking some rest in the fourth quarter, which made things a little bit dangerous for them, but they ended up pulling it off. And so, you have to find a way to limit LeBron's minutes, make sure Anthony Davis doesn't get injured, don't run those guys into the ground, which sucks because that's kind of going to be the uphill climb for the Lakers this year, being the 7th seed. If they were the 1 seed, you'd have a little bit easier of a time, going against lesser quality opponents along the way, even though the Western Conference is so deep anyway that it might not even matter. But being the 7th seed, you're having to play on the road, you're having to play these best opponents right out of the gate, and so that's where the uphill climb comes for them, where they've had guys who are injured, and are obviously LeBron is up there in age at this point, so who knows how their durability is going to be. So that's kind of where being the 7th seed hurts them, and specifically matching up with the Suns, who are clearly one of the best teams in the conference in the first round, is not ideal. And they're obviously a great defensive team. They have guys to throw at everybody, every position. The Lakers, I think, finished with either the first or the second best defensive rating in the league. So they're a great defensive team, even though LeBron and AD both missed a month or more. They're still clearly amazing defensively. They have guys to throw at Chris Paul, Dennis Schroeder, Alex Caruso. Same thing for Devin Booker. You can throw those same guys at him and guard him that way. Those two guys are going to get their points. They're going to get their assists. They're going to do their thing, but just making life hard on those two stars. And the Lakers are clearly capable of doing that. They're, like I said, one of the best defensive teams in the league. And so they should be able to throw guys at that. And then on the Suns side, it's just who's going to step up if one of their stars struggles or has a bad game, whether that's going to be Mikal Bridges or Jay Crowder or Frank Kaminsky or Cameron Payne or Cameron Johnson or whoever that is for them. Just making sure that they have enough consistent offense if Devin Booker is struggling for whatever reason. And a lot of people might be tempted to think like, okay, the Suns are a team that obviously has not been in the playoffs for a long time. A lot of these young players on this team have not been in the playoffs for a while. And so typically these teams kind of have to take their lumps and like go through defeat in the playoffs before you can kind of break through and jump into the real contender status, because that's what we've seen for many years, right? Pretty much every team that's won the title has kind of, been through battles together for a couple of years before being able to win a title just like year one, just off the bat. We saw that with the Golden State Warriors initially in their dynasty run with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, had to go through a couple of tough playoff losses before they were able to break through and start winning titles. Same with LeBron's Cavaliers, and you can go down the line, right? Even the Raptors, though they added Kawhi Leonard, they had kind of had that core together with Kyle Lowry and all those guys who were there. They had been through playoff battles together and lost for a couple of years before they finally broke through and won. So that's kind of the thing for a lot of these teams. Even the Lakers last year, right? They kind of struggled that first year with LeBron together, and then get Anthony Davis and the core, and they kind of had a year to gel. So the Suns, a lot of people could make that argument, and I would slightly push back on that just because of the fact that this team had kind of already been together for a while. You have like a lot of these young guys, of course, Cam Johnson, Devin Booker, Mikal Bridges, and these guys who have not been in the league for a super long time, but have kind of played together for a couple of seasons now, and kind of know each other, and have been together for a little while. You add Chris Paul to that, who has obviously been in a lot of playoff battles of his own, and has been in the league a very long time, and is a veteran who is adaptable, and that's kind of why they were able to gel so quickly and get this chemistry rolling so early on in the season, just because Paul was able to slide right in there and become a member of this team that had kind of already figured out how to play, specifically last year in the bubble. So you get that team together, and yes, they haven't been together for more than a season, but I think they can kind of sidestep the whole young team needs more experience, just because they have this veteran point guard, and a lot of the guys who are playing roles on this team have kind of been together for a couple of years before adding Chris Paul to that mix. So taking all of this into consideration, this is might be one of the toughest first round series to predict, obviously, because this is a matchup that you would maybe typically see in the conference finals based on the level of these two teams, and instead you're seeing it in the first round. Tough break for the Suns to draw the Lakers here, but also I think it's a tough break for the Lakers to have to do this uphill climb and beat all the best teams in the Western Conference in order to make their way to another title run. So it is incredibly hard to pick against either of these teams here. Picking against the Suns is foolish because they have clearly proven all year that they can beat the best of the best, and have been in all of these super close games this year and come out on top against these playoff quality opponents. Whereas the Lakers, of course, it's foolish to pick against the defending champs, who seemingly got better over the offseason, and it's a team with LeBron James on it and Anthony Davis, two of the top 6 or 7 best players in the entire league. So I don't really want to pick against either team here, and this might be dumb, but I'm going to take the Phoenix Suns in 7 games. I have been a super, super big fan of this team all year. I think they're so good. They're so fun to watch. They play the right way. And they have proven it on, every challenge that's been given to them. They've been able to rise to it. They've struggled through adversity this year and come out with the second best record in the entire league, just 1 game behind the Jazz for the best record in the NBA. This is a team that nobody thought would be here. They had an awesome run in the bubble last year and just added to their core and were able to get even better, I think, than they were last year. Not even I think. They are absolutely better than they were last year, even going 8-0 in the bubble. So the Suns team is really good. It's stupid to pick against the Lakers. I acknowledge it. And part of me is just kind of wanting to see them lose in the first round just because I think it would be funny. But I'm gonna roll with the Suns in 7 games. And this is one that I could, very easily be wrong about, but I'm sticking to it. I'm sticking to my guns. I will take Phoenix in 7. So there you go. That's my prediction for this series. I think it's going to be real close. Obviously, this one could come down to the final possession. But I'm going to roll with home field advantage on the team that has not been in the playoffs for a very long time. I think they're hungry. I think they're ready to win. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. Like I said at the top of the video, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. Leave a like, ring the bell if you want to. Leave a comment letting me know what you guys think about this series. What is your prediction going to be? I'm assuming a lot of people are going to take the Lakers. They are favored after all, but I'm going to roll with the Suns. I think they're a really good team, and I think they can do it. So yeah, with all that said, I will see you guys in the next one.